A couple weeks ago, one of the Rice orchestras played Sibelius' Fifth Symphony, and I feel so lucky to have been a part of it because I love sharing the stage with my amazing colleagues. But I especially loved the experience of working on this piece. It was so rewarding, and a lot of it had to do with one of my favorite movies of this year, Boyhood. They really reminded me of each other, and this is a video about why. So, Boyhood was directed by Richard Linklater, and it was filmed over a span of 12 years. It's about a boy named Mason, and it kind of shows his whole life from when he's 6 to when he's 18. And this was really cool because it showed the most important things in his life as well as the most mundane things, like a haircut, for instance. And that was really cool because it's so unlike a lot of the television and cinema that we have today where things happen. This wasn't a movie about anything happening at all, and in that way, Boyhood was so similar to music. It's really just time unspooling, and things are going to happen and matter as a consequence. Um, Sibelius' Fifth Symphony, he wrote at a time when everyone was getting crazy experimental. Everything was really chromatic and dissonant, and we were getting into the atonal area. So his piece was kind of groundbreaking because it was still super traditional, romantic, and tonal. But because of everything that everyone was doing around him, some of the cool things about this piece I think get overlooked or went unnoticed. And for me, one of the most radical things about it is the form. Um, a lot of musicologists, historians, and theorists argue about how many movements it is, when the movements start or end, just crazy stuff like that. It's kind of a labyrinth, actually, because everyone disagrees so much. But for me, in the experience of playing it, it just didn't matter. It was about the experience, which is similar to watching Boyhood. I don't care when it starts, when it ends, anything like that. I'm just in it, which was like playing this piece. And it really felt like there were no movements for me because it just happens, which is also like the movie. Um, so, for the most part, the violins in this piece play really fast, repeated pitches, which is kind of mundane, like a haircut. It's not the most exciting thing for us to do, especially since we're used to kind of meteor rolls a lot of the time in an orchestra setting. But I'm going to play a little bit of what that sounds like. This particular bow stroke and kind of thing is mostly called tremolo, and it's basically the original shake weight. So I don't know if you can quite hear, but those are the repeated pitches, and I don't know, it's really easy to kind of zone out or to half participate when you're playing things like this. But then, 4 minutes later, things have progressed, and this is what's going on. And the first time you're reading this and chaos starts to happen, it reminded me a lot of somewhere in the middle of just watching his life in Boyhood. I started crying and thinking, this is going to matter to me a lot, and I don't know why. And playing this part of the piece, by this point, we're playing different pitches and we're leaping everywhere and everything's getting faster. So you feel like things are culminating and you don't know what's going to happen, but you feel like it's going to matter, or at least that something will happen, which is really just that it's been happening all this time. But this ends up culminating into this. And when we played it in Studi Hall, the audience started clapping, which is such a natural response because it's so triumphant and it's such a great ending. What are you gonna follow with, you know? But this was so much like the whole experience of Boyhood. The first time I saw it in theaters, I was just sobbing after. And this was kind of the opposite spectrum of feeling, but it was the same way in which you're just experiencing a thing, you're half participating, just passively watching a movie or, playing some repeated notes. And then you start to get more invested and more involved. Your notes get more difficult and you have to concentrate and focus more. And same with, things that happen in a life. They start to accumulate meaning. And then at the end of this movement, or, whatever you want to call this, you're just euphoric. It's just so exciting. But he does follow this with the next movement or phase, and it sounds like this. The first time we read this piece through, and after that really heroic ending, and then this nostalgic simple melody came in, I was in tears. And this reminded me so much of the way that Boyhood was filmed. All of the important stuff was filmed as well as all of the average everyday stuff. And the fact that he would follow such a crazy ending, which would normally end a piece with this simple song, was for me a defiance of milestones and really radical for a composer to do. And this was also a big theme for me of Boyhood, was the defiance of anything special. Meaning isn't just constructed for us by societies. We're told that graduations matter, and then marriages matter, and we're told which events are supposed to mean anything to us in a way. And this movie and this piece flew in the face of all of that. When I was watching it and obsessed with it, a friend sent a quote from a review that he had read, and I don't remember the author, but I still have the quote, and he's comparing the life of Harry Potter and Mason, the boy in Boyhood, and asking why we feel closer to Mason than we do to Harry Potter, even though we, at least in my generation, have kind of grown up with both of them. And the quote is, "Perhaps because Harry's life on the page, and even more luridly on screen, was measured out in highlights as the plot demanded, whereas Mason is revealed in a string of lowlights, or in those episodes which seem dim and dull at the time, and only later shine in memory's cave." For me, this was the entire experience of playing Sibelius 5. Most of what we play are those lowlights, but the way that they accumulate and the way that the movie accumulated, the way that life accumulates, shows that meaning isn't what we're told it's going to be. Meaning is found in all of the notes being stitched together, all of the moments in life being stitched together, and it's happening right now. So great piece, great movie. I'm sure that this experience, which is already so memorable for me, this performance is only going to shine even brighter in my memory cave later on.